And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. We're back at it tonight with some more stuff on the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union and their protocols. And I want to remind everybody, hit the like, share, and subscribe. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody that wants to share some love. And of course, the panel StreamYard link is down there for anybody who wants to join the panel. And we're going to get into it tonight with some more etymology real quick before we get on to the Constitution with a few terms that are relative to what we're discussing. So let's look at the first one we have is Congress. Congress as a noun, body of attendants, also meeting of armed forces. Mid-15th century sense of coming together of people, a meeting of individuals. So you get the sense here that all of these are about a relationship of some sort, a body of attendants, people that have some sort of relation together, meeting of armed forces relative to the armed forces, the sense of a coming together of people. So there's some kind of relationship going on, right? A friendly meeting, a hostile encounter, to meet with, to fight with and together, or con, and gradi, to walk, step. So it's like I've said before, ingress and egress, to walk in and to walk out. To walk with is congress. Ingress, egress, congress. They're all relative. A step, to walk, go. The meaning sexual union is from 1580s. So intercourse means the same thing as congress in that sense. The specific sense of a meeting of delegates, formal meeting of persons having a representational character relative to what they're representing, is recorded by 1670s. It has been used in reference to the national legislative body of American states since 1775. By 1765 in America as a name for proposed bodies. The three sittings of the Continental Congress, representing the 13 rebellious American colonies, met 1774, 1775, 76, and 1776 to 81. Congress of the Confederation met from 1781 to 89, and Congress of the United States met from March 4th, 1789. The Congress of Vienna met November 1st, 1814 to June 8th, 1815, and redrew the map of Europe with an eye to creating a balance of powers after the disruptions of Napoleon. Congressional as an adjective of or pertaining to a Congress, a meeting, a coming together. Of or pertaining to the Congress of the American States from 1776. As such, the word was at first reviled as barbarous, but Pickering in 1816 quotes an unnamed English correspondent. The term Congress, belonging to America, the Americans may employ its derivatives without waiting for the assent of the English. So here we have a term that was created by Americans through their use of English. Congressman as a noun, 1780, in reference to members of the U.S. Congress, and it first appears in a piece of abuse written by a loyalist. Technically of members of both the Senate and the House of Representatives, but typically only meeting the House members. Meeting, bunk, Frank, Frank. Congress, technically abolished 1873. Related, franked, and franking. Let's look at that. Frank as an adjective is free, liberal, generous. That sounds like franking to me, just like I've been talking about. Franking the mail. That's prepaid postage indicia. You're just letting them know you know that the service is free. That's what they said. That was a condition of their offer. Outspoken, from Old French frank, free, not servile, without hindrance, exempt from, sincere, genuine, open, gracious, generous, worthy, noble, illustrious. From medieval Latin, francus, free, at liberty, exempt from service. As a noun, a free man, a frank. See frank. A generalization of the tribal name. The connection is that Franks, as the conquering class, alone had the status of freemen in a world that they knew only free, captive, or slave. For sense connection of being one of the nation and free, compare Latin, liber, free, like is in the Liber Code. From the same root as German Luit, nation, people. See liberal as an adjective and Slavic, free. Words which are cognates of the first element in English, sibling, brother, sister. In Old English, used more generally relative, related, kinsman. For the latter sense development, compare ingenuity. Frank as a noun, lowercase, Frankfurter, hot dog. Frank, one of the Germanic tribal people, Salian Franks, situated on the lower Rhine from 3rd century that conquered Roman, Celtic, Northern Gaul, circa 500 CE. From their territory and partly from their language grew modern France and French. Old English Frank, Franca, freeman, noble, Frank, Frenchman. From medieval Latin Francus and late Latin borrowing Frankish, Frank. The people's self-designation. The people's self-designation. The origin of the ethnic name is uncertain. It traditionally is said to be from the Old Germanic word frank or frankon, javelin, lance, their preferred weapon. But the reverse may be the case. Compare Old Saxon, traditionally from root of Old English, thea, knife, an adjectival sense of free at liberty. See frank as an adjective, as we just saw earlier, or just above. Probably developed from the tribal name, not the other way around. It was noted by 1680s that in the Levant, this was the name given to any of Western nationality. Anyone of Western nationality. Frank is a verb. To free a letter for carriage or an article for publication. To send by public conveyance free of expense. 1708, from shortened form of French, a franchir, from A to franchir, free. Franchise. Do you see it now? See, you're a franchise of Congress. as a United States citizen, as an American. Congress is a franchise of you. It comes full circle either way back to you. You are the people. A British parliamentary privilege from 1660 to 1840 in U.S. Congress, technically abolished 1873. Oh, here we go. Related, franking as a noun. Signature of one entitled to send letters for free. Franchise as a verb, late 14th century, to make free. From Old French franchise, past participle stem of franchir, to free. From Frank, free. Franchising is from 1570s. The commercial licensing sense is from 1966. See how recent that is? So let's look at the next one. As I said, it's relation. There's a relation going on. Relation as a noun says relationship, connection, correspondence, act of telling or relating in words. As long as you keep using that language, there's some kind of relation going on, and you have to be able to correspond, connect that relationship in its appropriate fashion. From Anglo-French relation, Old French relation, report. Report. One more time, report. Connection, 14th century, and directly from Latin relationum, nominative relatio, a bringing back. Restoring, a report, a proposition. From relatus, see relate. The meaning person related by blood or marriage is attested from circa 1500. The phrase no relation, not in the same family, is used in differentiating persons with the same surname. Relate as a verb. To recount. So you observe something, that is your own accounting. To then tell it to someone else is to recount it. Tell, from French relator, relator, refer, report, and directly from Latin relatus, used as a past participle of refer, bring back, bear back, see refer. From back, again, born, carried. Coin your words or purse your lips. You can bear your words or purse your lips. Same thing. Born. You're the one that gets to create your words. You're the one that gets to create your recounting. The meaning stand in some relationship or relation, have reference or respect is from 1640s. Transitive sense of bring something into relation with something else is from 1690s. Meaning to establish a relation between is from 1771. Sense of to feel connected or sympathetic to is attested from 1950. Originally in psychology jargon. One of my favorites, correlation. You have to learn how to relate one thing with another. That's called correlation. Oops. So we have, gosh dang it, we have core relation. What is the base of the relation? What is the core element of the relation of a military army? It, of course, is the military activities. What is the core relation of a family, of a household? It is the peaceful, quiet, inhabitant, normal daily routines that most of us are used to. Mutual relation, interdependence, interconnection. From French correlation, from core, which means together. See com, meaning with, plus relation, see relation, meaning action of bringing into orderly connection. I hope you guys see how I'm trying to make a correlation, an orderly connection, because this is the only thing that's really missing. You got to learn what started it all and then go from there. If you think you can start somewhere in the middle and figure it all out without going back to the beginning, you're not going to do it. It's not relative. The next one is convict. Now, why are we talking about convict? Because we have con, which again means with, con, com, core. They all mean with. Okay? And when we look at V-I-C-T, vict, now you can see that in victim and victory. So let's take a look at it. To convince by arguments. So would you have to relate the words? Okay. Convince of wrongdoing or sin. A sense now obsolete. That's not so if they're still using it in the courts and saying you've been convicted of such and such a crime. They still use it in that sense. It is not obsolete. From Latin convictus, past participle of convincere, to overcome in argument, to overcome decisively, to convict of crime or error. So again, we see it's not obsolete. Wrongdoing is what they call crime, or sin is what they call crime. From a simulated form of com, here perhaps an intensive prefix, plus vincere, to conquer. So we have with and query. So we have conquer in a conquest with question. From nasalized form of pi root, like, to fight, conquer. Meaning prove or find guilty of an offense charged. Is from late 14th century. It replaced Old English verb offerstallen. Related, convicted, convicting. Convict, as a noun, person proved or found guilty of an alleged offense. From obsolete adjective convict. Convicted from Latin convictus, see convict, verb. Slang shortening con is from 1893. And then the last one, of course, victory. Victory. Remember how we started out with Congress was a meeting of armed forces? Now we have victory as a noun is a military supremacy. Victory in battle or a physical contest. From Anglo-French and Old French, victory, and directly from Latin victoria, victory, from past participle stem of vincere, to overcome, conquer. Victory and convict both mean with conquering. I think that's it. Oh, alms. Alms, as it relates, is charitable relief of the poor. It's relative to the poor, especially as a religious duty. Also, that which is given to relieve the poor or needy. Almsgiving, act of relieving the needy. I think the people need a little more education on the language and how it's used. I urge you to study the concise English language and get into some etymology and find out what's really going on with these words. And with that, I want to remind everybody, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. The link is down there for anybody who wants to come up and join the chat. Let me post it again just to make sure. And then, of course, we're going to get back into the Acts of the Union tonight. And let's see here. I think we were at 6. Article 6, the seat of Bern, or seat of the Postal Union. Article 6, the seat of the Union and its permanent organs shall be at Bern. And just to let everybody know, one of the things about Bern is that not only is it the Swiss federal capital, and the home of the Universal Postal Union, but it's also the home of the Telegraph Union, the Railway Union, and the Copyright Union. The Copyright Union. And when I get done with the video here tonight on this, I'm going to come back a little bit later with another one on the copyright of the Universal Postal Union as it relates to this Congress and everything, and the words that we just went over. I want to go over that copyright notice real quick, just to point out the simplicity of it and how to use it. So the next one, here it is, like I said, Article 7, official language of the Union. The official language of the Union shall be French. So they put up this document in the International Forum, not in French, but in English. Okay. Article 8, the monetary unit. And if you think it's United States, you go ahead and keep believing that. But the root word is unit. It is United States. And it's a unity. The monetary unit used in the acts of the Union shall be accounting unit of the International Monetary Fund. What do you suppose the international or the the accounting unit of the International Monetary Fund is? Do you suppose they have their own money? Or do they accept the gifts and gratuities and everything that are deposited and convert those deposits into an obligation to extend credit? Oops. What is the accounting unit of the International Monetary Fund? Article 9, restricted unions, special agreements. Greetings, Russell. How you doing tonight?
Greetings. Doing good, doing good. Taking some notes.
Good, good. So I think it's important that people do that, because without them, we don't have anything to reflect back on and remind us to go back and research this or that, except our mindfulness that once in a while it might pop in our head if we're busy with something else. So, member countries or their designated operators, if the legislation of those member countries so permits, may establish restricted unions and make special agreements concerning the postal service, provided always that they do not introduce provisions less favorable to the public than those provided for by the acts to which the member countries concerned are parties. So again, I ask you, how is this not a violation of Article 1 under the organic provisions that say freedom of transit shall be guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the Union, knowing that there is one postal union, subject to the conditions specified in the acts of the Union that would restrict you from placing any unfavorable charges on the public. I don't know who is not interpreting this simple writing, but I think it's pretty easy. And any additional protocols there too. So the things that they're adding on to and charging the public is against their very own constitution at the international level. Is that the way you would read that, Russ?
Absolutely. I mean, there's rules, and those rules have to be followed to a T.
Yep.
Straight is the gate and narrow is the way.
Yep. And it doesn't allow for any other things. It does not say that on here. So when they draw up their documents and then start placing charges on them, those are false charges, folks. I've been screaming this for years. They are false charges in every sense. Restricted unions may send observers to Congress, to the Council of Administration, to the Postal Operations Council, and to other conferences and meetings organized by the union. The union may send observers to Congress, conferences, and meetings of restricted unions. Article 10, relation with the United Nations. The relations between the Union and the United Nations shall be governed by the agreements whose text are annexed to this Constitution. This is one of those such annexations. The Universal Postal Convention, wherein they speak again about franking and being able to send things through the mails for free. Article 9, violations. Postal items. Member countries shall undertake to adopt the necessary measures to prevent, prosecute, and punish any person found guilty of the following: the insertion in postal items of narcotics, psychotropic substances, as well as dangerous goods, where their insertion has not been expressly authorized by the convention or regulations; the insertion in postal items of objects of pedophilic nature or pornographic nature using children; means of postal prepayment and postal payment itself. Means of postal prepayment and postal payment itself. It's right there. Article 9, violations. Article 9, restricted unions, special agreements. Special agreements concerning the Postal Service provided always that they do not introduce provisions less favorable to the public than those provided for by the acts to which the member countries are, or member countries concerned are parties. Member countries shall undertake to adopt necessary measures to prevent, prosecute, and punish any violations concerning the means of postal prepayment set out in this convention, such as postage stamps in circulation or withdrawn from circulation, prepayment impressions, impressions of franking machines or printing presses, international reply coupons. So you can have recoupment. Isn't that what the financial system is all about? Recouping what you put out. You put something out, you should get it back. That's called recoupment. Did you know that's the same thing as circulation? The whole system is based on a bunch of babble. In this convention, violations concerning means of postal prepayment refer to any of the acts outlined below committed by any person with the intention of obtaining illegitimate gain for oneself or for a third party. Again, remember the definition of fraud. I'm not doing this for gain for myself or anybody else. I'm not making my own stamps and selling them to others for my own gain, and certainly not for a third party. I'm only enforcing the words that they put out as a public offer and letting them know you're not supposed to be violating this prepayment stuff for anybody. You have that privilege, then that means we have the right to use that same privilege as a benefactor to the trust. I don't care about your contract. I'm not part of your contract. The following acts shall be punished. Any act of falsifying, imitating, or counterfeiting any means of postal prepayment, or any illegal or unlawful act linked to the unauthorized manufacturing of such items. The only thing I am doing, or anybody that does the same thing, is giving them legal notice. That's all it is. It's legal notice. We know that it's a franking right and it's free and that you get to use it and that we get to use it. How do I know we get to use it? Because there's a certain routing number for credit. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not true. And just because I'm not going to tell you mine doesn't mean it's not true. I've told you how to do it. I've told you where it comes from. Do your research. Manufacture, use, release for circulation, commercialization, distribution, dissemination, transportation, exhibition, or display, also in the form of catalogs and for advertising purposes, any means of postal prepayment which has been falsified, imitated, or counterfeited. I'm not imitating anybody else's. I'm not counterfeiting anybody else's. And I'm not falsifying that which I have myself. It is true. Any act of using or circulating for postal purposes. Any means of postal prepayment which has already been used. Any attempt to commit any of these violations. Any attempt to commit any of these violations. Reciprocity. So if you have the right to frank mail, where's the reciprocity? You think about that, Russ? Where's the reciprocity? Doesn't seem like
right. Exactly. There is none.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any reciprocity from any of these people. It's like they don't even know the term.
It's all take and no give.
And that if they see it here, they're not going to research any farther. Just like Flo State ain't going to research any farther. So when he sees something like this, he's going to be like most Hitler's willing executioners and say, "Well, that doesn't apply." That's for member countries. No, you're the member country.
Well,
and it clearly says that you're not supposed to make anything less favorable for the public. You agree I'm part of that public, right? Yeah. Well, then what's less favorable? Me or Congress? Well, I have to pay for postage stamps. No, you don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's just idiotic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
You were sitting there explaining that a minute ago, reading that off, and I was sitting there just kind of daydreaming like I do. My mind kind of wanders with some of this stuff when I hear certain things, and then I got to thinking because I like to simplify things. Well, the United States is there as a service and commerce to the American people, but they need those U.S. citizens to provide that service to the people.
Yeah, the public.
Right. I mean, you cannot make this shit up, brother.
And they need us.
They
They
do
need
need
us.
us. Yes.
So let's get back to it. As regards sanctions, no distinction shall be made between the acts outlined in 2, irrespective of whether national or foreign means of postal prepayment are involved. So the United States, as a corporate entity, already acknowledges that the American people are foreign to the corporation. We are the public, like we just got done saying. We are foreign to the corporate entity as the public, irrespective of whether national or foreign means of postal prepayment are involved. So again, the postal prepayment is just clearly giving legal notice that you're giving me you're being unfavorable to me. I'm an American citizen, not a United States citizen. And by using that stamp, that's in the capacity of a United States citizen or a citizen. And it's unfavorable. This provision shall not be subject to any legal or conventional condition of reciprocity. This provision shall not be subject to any legal or conventional condition of reciprocity. In other words, as regards sanctions, they don't care if you're going to be domestic or foreign. If they think you violated, they're gonna come at you. And that's why I say, if you really think I'm committing fraud, and again, remember the stamps that I've shown you, the prepaid postage indicia, prepaid postage impressions that were affixed on that dispatch. That's not mine. That came from someone else. I am not the only one that does this. And granted, I haven't done it for a few years because I'm back in Waterloo. But when I was out and about, out in New Hampshire and South Missouri, hey, that's how I communicated with very few people. Article 10, processing of personal data. Personal data on users may be employed only for the purposes for which they were gathered in accordance with applicable national legislation. This is why it's important to understand that national address format and start using something outside those bounds so these people can learn that there is something beyond themselves. They are not the one all be all, and that I'll be damned if they're not going to start listening to people that know some other way of expressing things. Personal data on users shall be disclosed only to third parties authorized by applicable national legislation to access them. So again, remember that credit card. Credit card means any card, plate, coupon book, or any device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. You suppose that address is such a thing to access as an access device? You better think about what you're doing. You're the ones doing it. They're telling you how it's done. Once you read it and comprehend how it's done, now you can undo it. Member countries and their designated operators shall ensure the confidentiality and security of personal data on users in accordance with their national legislation. And that's a pretty strong statement right there. Member countries and their designated operators shall ensure the confidentiality and security of personal data on users in accordance with their national legislation.
Who's trading all that data?
You are.
Yep.
You don't give it to them, they can't have it for their use. The next one. Designated operators shall inform the customers of the use that is made of their personal data and of the purpose for which they have been gathered. Did you know that they taught this stuff to us in grammar school, grade school, and that was not disclosed as part of that education?
It wasn't?
They didn't tell us that they were going to be using that address to convict us.
Yeah.
They didn't tell us they were going to be using that name and address to convict us of crimes and drag us into civil courts for bullshit because somebody else is making a false claim as a credit collector or a debt collector. See, it's all devices used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. And they've got you believing you need to use that name and address as a contracting officer. And of course, you have to give advances of Federal Reserve notes. And again, if you think you're paying something with a Federal Reserve note, you're not a Federal Reserve agent to do so. So you just gave them money, and that's abandonment.
And that would explain why there's mock trials in the education system.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and with that, being Sunday night, like I said, I'm going to come back with well, let's finish up with the last couple here. Let's finish up with the last couple on this one. There's just a couple left. The last one I said, I guess. Without prejudice to the foregoing, designated operators may transfer electronically personal data to the designated operators of destination or transit countries that need these data in order to fulfill their service. So again, it's for the service of the Postal Service and the countries that have this this international compact contract. It's for them. That's what these rules and regulations are for, and they're supposed to follow them. And of course, if I'm in agreement with them, I should follow them too, right? How am I going to follow them if I don't know them, people? I urge you to wake up and think about this. This is how they take advantage of you, by knowing things that you don't and saying, oh, well, we're just doing our job. They don't even know their job, for crying out loud. So what do you think, Russ?
It's sad for sure.
All right. Well, like I said, we're at the end for tonight, but like I said, I'm going to come back in a little bit with another one on copyright, and I'm going to have a short video on Mark Twain and a short writing on Mark Twain and the issue with Mark Twain and Congress as it relates to his copyright and protecting his material. So I'll be back in a little bit with that one. And in the meantime, you got anything else?
No, what time you think?
It's 10 till now. Give me till at least 10 or 15 after.
Oh, that should be pretty quickly then. All right. I'll try to
Yeah,
hang out and catch you.
yeah, only 15, 20 minutes or so, and I'll be back, guys. But I want to come back with this information on copyright to help you guys understand that you're really afraid of the words, and they're not really anything to be afraid of. It's more of being able to comprehend what's before you and being able to restate your opinion, because that's all this stuff is. We're not supposed to be sitting here trying to tell somebody this is true or this is true. We're supposed to be
Right.
stating our opinions in conversations, communications, connecting and relating with each other, and not, making big issues and getting violent about things.
Well,
And that's
isn't
the
that
problem.
isn't that flow that's supposed to flow through me and you in that current?
Correct.
See?
Correct. And when we know the language better, we can help that currency flow better. And
Right.
again, it's kind of hard coming into this with a belligerent mind state. And I'm telling you what, guys, I'm not the perfect guy, and I've said many times, you do not want to be my friend, because I'm going to hold you to the fire when it comes to things about being truthful and stuff. And that's my biggest problem in life. And that's caused me a lot of different anger and grief and resentments. And that's the way it's been through my entire life. So it's going to be hard to get over it. And I'm gradually getting better at it. Like I said, I just went through this lease with the landlord or the uh, property manager, and we're getting some, resolve at the beginning by learning how to put equity into the contract. Rental agreement means credit agreement.
Right.
Um, Tenant, occupant, resident means American citizen. We're just helping them understand a greater truth to what they see. You and your means creditor of the United States, not
Right.
debtor. So we're helping them understand our position as opposed to the way the words are usually used and interpreted. So with
Good
that,
stuff.
I
Much
love
love,
you.
everybody.
You
See
bet.
the
You bet.
change.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see
Take
you in a
care.
little bit, Russ.
All right. Bye bye.
And with that, folks, I love you. I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's say I don't care if you hate me. So make sure that God blesses you. Have a good night. And I'll be back, like I said, here in a few minutes. Give me 15, 20 minutes, and I'll be back with the thing on copyrights and Samuel Clemens and the UPU. In the meantime, thanks again.